Hi, I'm Martin Overton from AIG. Cyber attacks, yes, they are more common, and the risks to manufacturers are a multitude. It's not just cyber, so it's not just the cyber attacks such as somebody hacking into a system, taking data, mainly process data for manufacturing, or recipes, sales information, that type of data. So it's not doesn't tend to be about customer data. It's more about process and other information. So that's the biggest risk for most manufacturers. But there's also obviously supply chain issues as well. So for instance, if one of your vendors gets attacked or they have a natural catastrophe, they will actually cause problems onto you as well. Okay, so what can manufacturers do to protect themselves and their supply chains? For themselves, probably do what I call best practices. So the usual things, back up their systems, preferably off-site, so they're actually restored. So if they get hit by a ransomware attack or a malware attack or some other data failure, they can restore the data. They need to check that they can actually restore that information. From the supply chain, there are also other areas as well, things like train their end users, make sure that their staff actually understand their roles and responsibilities from a security point of view. Also do what I call security hygiene, so patch their systems. We know with industrial control systems and manufacturing systems, they're often old embedded operating systems, and therefore they don't tend to get patched very often because it means that you have to take the systems offline for a while. So that's something that would be very important. From a supply chain point of view, make sure you do due diligence with them. Understand where their risks are, because the bad guys will always go after what we call the low-hanging fruit, the easy targets. And that quite often will be your supplier or your third party, somebody who actually is working with you. And they may use that as a stepping off point to get into your own infrastructure. Right, so what do I think are going to be the biggest cyber threats for 2018? I think it's going to be around business disruption. So it's going to be business interruption through things like distributed denial of service attacks. We're going to see a massive uptick in ransomware this year. We're going to see more targeted ransomware rather than this scattergun approach we use at the moment, where the bad guys throw it out and just say, right, you pay me half a Bitcoin or whatever. We're going to start seeing serious money. And with GDPR coming in, I think we'll start to see more targeted attacks which will actually bring that value up. Instead of saying to somebody, well, I've just hacked into your system, I now have access to all your data. Instead of asking for a few Bitcoins, they're going to say, well, if I report this, you're going to potentially be looking at a 4% fine or 20 million euros, whichever is the largest. I tell you what, instead of doing that, just pay me 1% or 0.5%. So I think we'll see that. But we'll also see crypto mining, so where people are actually booby-trapping websites and installing software onto data centers to actually steal processing power, to actually mine Bitcoins, Monero, all those other types of cryptocurrencies. So we're going to see that, because that may be the new payload that we'll see this year. Why should AIG be part of this conference? Basically because no matter what you do, at the end of the day, you can have the right people, the right processes, the right tools in place, there is still a chance that you'll have a cyber breach or some form of data breach. So you have to offset your risk. And this is where AIG actually come into play. We can actually help by covering the costs of a data breach, help you with the forensics, with the PR side of it, and obviously pay your claim at the end of it